You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 267 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Roger Phipps, and on this week's show, the Tigers get tamed. We take off to the Owl's Nest. We discuss random items, including recruiting. We go inside the huddle with Kyle Israel, your questions in Ask Knightline, the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, and news and notes.
Alrighty, well, that sounds good. Welcome back. Got Kyle coming up, like Roger said there. We're talking about a win for UCF. Maybe not the perfect win, not the win that maybe we wanted it to be, the way we wanted it to be, but a win nevertheless, 24-7 over Memphis. That's good. I'm really happy with the defense and what I saw with the defense. Not so happy with the offense. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with Kyle later, of course. But first, let's go to Ask Knightline. Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today. Alrighty, starting out Ask a Knightline, of course, with our good friend Tony Cummings with 3 questions, which is perfectly fine. 3 questions it is. First question, what's the point of having Gatewood play quarterback if he never throws the pass to a wide receiver? Kind of makes it obvious for the defense that Gatewood would be involved in a running play. Well, yeah, you're right, as far as that goes, for sure. It does, but anytime you put in a wildcat, you know, if you put a running back at quarterback and do a wildcat, it's still, I mean, everybody knows you're going to run it. So Joey can throw the ball. I mean, I think he threw a touchdown this season. So, I mean, he's capable of throwing the ball. He's just not the best at it. And that's why he's not a starting quarterback. But he throws a different thing in there. I mean, he's a big dude, size-wise even. You know, just another, like, you know, a different thing in the entire offense. I mean, everybody knows that he's going to run, but, like, stop the dude. He's huge. So he's 230 pounds or something. He's a big dude. So I think that it really changes things up. And then, you know, here's the deal. They're going to watch all the tape. Oh, he doesn't ever throw. Well, guess what? He's going to throw it one of these days, and he's going to throw a touchdown. So I think that's why they do it. It is a little bit of a thing. You still have to account for whoever's on the field. So when you see another quarterback come in there, even if he is going to run, you still have to account for him, and it's one of those things that throws defenses off. Just the littlest bit even. I'm fine with it. Roger?
I'm not sure if I'm fine with it, at least as far as when we're throwing the timing in there. I think there's some questions on that. We get into that with Kyle a little bit later in the show. That being said, what I'm seeing more of out when he's in there is more of a triple option look. If you notice, yes, we are running the ball, but there's 2 running backs back there as well. So he's got an option to either keep handed off pitch. There's a number of other things. So it throws the defense off a little bit. And, he has been gaining yards in the touches that he's been getting. It's as to why or why Gus wants to do that. I'm assuming it's because, we're trying to overload the box in certain situations, or the defense is playing down and in the box, and we just want to mess with them a little bit, or break it up a little bit, or give Mikey a breather so he can think about, the different coaching things that he's seen, et cetera. I honestly think that's more of it than anything else, because we've got a true freshman quarterback in there who enrolled early, by the way. And I think it's more giving Mikey a second to kind of reset or understand what the plays in the series that are coming up, et cetera. Whether that's the right move or not, I don't know. I have my own thoughts on that. But like I said, we talk about that with Kyle a little bit later.
Oh, here's what Coach said about it as well.
Joey presents a completely different deal. You saw down there, it wasn't there on the read zone. He stuck his foot in the ground. He got 8 down there to end the game right before we gave it to Bowser. He just presents a different challenge for the defense. And, that's what's best for our team. Do I like playing 2 quarterbacks? I don't. But that's what's best for our team right now, and we'll continue to build on that. Each week will be a little bit different. Joey had the plays. We felt really good about him, and so we'll continue to develop that.
All right, well, in my opinion, if Gus thinks that that's the best thing for the team and the best thing to do, I'm with him personally. I'm not the football coach. He is. So, not that I obviously go blindly into trusting everything the coach does and says, but, for some reason he thinks that it's a thing to do, so I'm good with it, and until it really turns out to be a bad thing. I don't think it's hurt us at all, or they wouldn't keep doing it. So, yeah. All right. Next question. What are your thoughts on our running back UCF prospect, Jordan McDonald, making a commitment to UCF? He is, dude to the left in the picture, looks like a massive dude. Yeah, he's a big guy. He's not as big as Bowser or even some of the other running backs. He's a little bit bigger than some of the other running backs. Obviously, the small guys. Yeah, man, bring it. I can't wait to see what he does. He's only going to get bigger in, college football. He's just a senior in high school, so the freshman year, between freshman year and sophomore year, is really where you see guys put on weight. So he could be a Bowser-type guy if he gains, I think he'd have to gain 20 or so pounds to do that, but he looks fast and all that stuff, so I'm excited. Roger, you probably know more about him than I do.
Well, I'm very excited. He was our top running back target. He is he was wanted. He has an offer list a mile long. It was between us and South Carolina. He, as you said, he's a big dude, 6 foot 217. That's a big bruising back, the kind of back that Gus Malzahn likes to run. Obviously, Bowser is an example of that type of back. Not quite the same, but definitely one of those types of backs. He can enroll early. He's a very highly rated 3-star. He actually had 5 touchdowns in his most recent game. He's out of Alpharetta, Georgia. He had 1 passing touchdown, 1 receiving touchdowns, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So this guy's an all-around, guy. And with that frame as a high school senior, and especially if he enrolls early to get in the strength and conditioning program over the summer, I could see him as a 6 foot, 225, 230 back, and that's the kind of back you don't want to see if you're a linebacker or a defensive back like a safety coming down. So that's also, if you watch his film, he doesn't go down very easy. He's actually got some decent speed, and his instincts are really good. So this is a huge win for UCF, and he's going to be a part of our future for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know how tall he is. I've seen 6'1", 220. I've seen a couple of different things. So does anybody know, or Roger, does anybody, like I'm asking people to reply, do you know how tall Quan Lee is?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can find out. I think he's something like 5'11".
Okay, because
But
he's
I
standing next to Quan Lee. Let me see here as well. I bet I can find it. Okay, Quan Lee is 6 foot, it says. 6 foot 175. And then the other guy that he is standing next to is Thomas Castanelos, and he's 5'11", 190. So Quan Lee looks a little shorter than 6 foot, personally. 5'11", I would say he is probably as well. So I would say McDonald is either, I would say probably 6'1". So yeah, he is. He's got big arms, though. He's a wide-bodied dude. So good. I mean, all about it. We're going to need bigger guys. I mean, personally, these the bigger the better, especially with running backs. You've seen what a big running back does with a guy like Bowser, So I need to watch Jordan McDonald's stuff a little bit more. I haven't watched his film too much. I need to look at it a little bit more just to see. But I know he's the best player on the field a lot of times. So that last game, I think last week in high school, he was responsible for 5 touchdowns, ran for a couple, threw for one, caught another one, all that stuff. So, and then what is it? He's like the 27th position player in Florida or something like that.
McDonald's actually out of Georgia.
Out of Georgia. 27th out of Georgia, though, I believe. Or 43rd in the state, 27th at the position. So 27th best running back, according to
It's
Rivals.
a big deal. I'm actually surprised he's not a 4-star.
Well, he's like 1 point away from it. So
Yeah, he's a 5.7 3-star. So 5.8 is a 4-star.
yeah, got a bunch of 5.7 dudes recently. So we'll talk a little bit more about them later. Let me get back here to the questions. My phone closed, and Roger, so I just sent you a picture on your phone, and this has to do with the next question. So
Okay.
Tony's next question is, which Space Game jersey is your favorite? Year it was released. So I was thinking about this. Excuse me. And I don't like the white ones. This one, to me, was, it was cool and all. I liked some of it. I liked the letter, or the number was pretty cool. I didn't like the names on the back being in blue because it didn't stand out as much as black. It was hard to see. So there are players every once in a while that run onto the field that I don't know who they are because they're, they don't play very often or whatever. I could see the numbers, but in the stands personally, I couldn't see the jersey or the name, and I like to be able to see the name. So this one was not my favorite. I liked the helmet a lot, and it seemed like, the rest of the players and everybody loved the helmet and the face mask. I like the chrome face mask. I don't think we've ever done that before. But my favorite would be, I'm going to go with the 2018 one. It was a black jersey with had the constellations on the shoulders and around the collar. And it also had, I guess all of them, well, not the first year. The first year did not have the citronaut. This one did, though. Yeah, so 2018 is the one I'm going to pick. So that would be year number 2, I believe, of this whole thing.
Yep. And I'm gonna differ with you a little bit here. I'm actually gonna pick one of the white jerseys for a couple reasons. So for me, it's the 2019 Mission 3, which is the 3rd year. Those moon helmets were just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, and I love them. And the other thing that I really liked that I thought stood out was with the white pant and the USA logo on the side from the side of the rockets that was painted on the side of the Saturn V's. And the way that those look with that black stripe with the red lettering on it, I just think that's amazing. I love the way that looks. Generally speaking, I would prefer the black jerseys as well, but just the combination. I mean, the helmet just puts it over the top for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I could
those
pick
helmets
a
were
different
insane.
jersey.
Yeah, those helmets were insane. I was just really thinking about the jersey. I wasn't thinking much about the helmet. But you are right. Those helmets and those pants were really cool. The other thing is, with this year's, it said knots on the back, Nauts, like Citronauts. Mm-hmm. And it had, I think what'd the front say? Didn't it say Citronauts or something like that instead of Knights? And then, the coaches wear, Gus's visor said Citronauts. His polo that he was wearing said Citronauts. I think if we were going for that whole Citronaut thing, do it. Like, totally do it. Take the UCF logo off the helmet and put the Citronaut logo on at least one side of the helmet.
I
wish
honestly,
they would have done that. And the other thing that was cool about the helmet, which wasn't very, visible, I don't know if they talked about it on TV or anything, or just you had to see it on Twitter or whatever, but there were names of the UCF alumni that were NASA employees on it that were involved in the shuttle program.
Yeah, and actually one of the players, his mom is actually listed on the helmet, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that was cool, but unless you see a picture of it or whatever, you don't even know that that's there. So, I don't know. If you're going to go Citronauts, go full on Citronauts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the helmets and the decals and stuff, I guess they could have gone with a different decal. I know that there's a supply shortage right now from Nike.
Well, you can make decals. It's not.
No, that's what
Nike doesn't make the decals.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying I guess with the decals you'd be.
And I don't know about this helmet shortage crap. I think it's bull. Personally, I don't buy it. I just don't. Because what about all the other schools that wear different helmets and everything? They've all been doing it. We're the only ones that haven't. We haven't done it, and everybody else that has, Oregon's not having any freaking problems. They've worn a different one every time. USF's not even having problems. They've worn them. They've worn different ones. I think somebody doesn't like the multicolored helmets, in my opinion. That's my opinion with this, because I'm not buying the shortage of helmets. I think that's crap. I don't know where that came from or whatever, but I don't buy it. And it sucks because I liked all of our different helmets, black ones, anthracite ones, gold ones, all that different stuff. That was one of my favorite things that they were doing. I'm not buying the helmet shortage because it would be affecting everybody else, and it's not.
Well, there's also been rumors that we were looking at going to Adidas as well, so they may not be purchasing more helmets if that's the case.
Yeah, and so what? They gave away all the helmets, or they sold all the helmets? That's not true either. They didn't sell all of them. There's no way. In the yard sale things, they did not sell all the helmets, I guarantee.
No, they didn't sell them, but they...
So there shouldn't be a shortage. You can use them for more than 1 year. They're not like a 1 year and done helmet. I mean, my God.
No, but you've got to have enough for the entire football team.
I understand that. But I'm not buying it. I don't know where that came from. So I've heard it, and I keep hearing it, and there's other people that are starting to catch on, too. I just don't think that that's actually the case. I think that somebody doesn't. It could be Malzahn that doesn't like having different colored helmets, or could be Terry Mahajer. Who knows? But it's not because of a shortage. Anyway, that's been irking me that people keep saying that. So, Tony, it's the jersey, the one that I was saying, you sent a picture as well of you and Johnny Dawkins. It's that jersey that you're wearing is the one that's my favorite. So, okay. Brian W. Peterson as well asked a question. Does Randy Shannon deserve more blame for the state of the team instead of Heupel, considering the state of the defense and how DW installed him as defensive head coach? Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously he recruited some of these guys, and there are some good players on the defense. The defense was great this week. Maybe it was because of the opponent that they had that wasn't great, but the defense was great this week. They've shown, I think that they've definitely shown promise. They're just young. I don't think that it's because we have crappy players and we've had crappy recruiting more than that they're young. I mean, the guys that I think are special were guys that Randy Shannon recruited, except for the transfers. So, I don't know. I really wouldn't blame Randy Shannon. I blame youth more than anything else. I mean, I love to blame Randy Shannon, second half Randy, no half Randy in the bowl game. But whatever. I don't know if it's his fault or not. I mean, if we could blame him, I guess we can blame him a little bit. But like Bethune, he's a Randy Shannon guy. A lot of the other guys were Randy Shannon guys.
Well, not six, but several of the Randy Shannon guys also got kicked out of school. So,
well, exactly 4 of them, I believe it was 4 starters.
Yeah, four starters that were his guys that made a mistake, and unfortunately, were no longer with the team and were expected to contribute. I think that's more because, guys, listen, only about 20% of your class ever becomes a starter, right? That's why you have 4-year cycles. So if you've got 20% of your class becoming a starter and then you drop 4 out of a class of 28, that's a pretty big hit. So, to me, I see it more of that than anything else. He did bring some young, raw DBs. We had some folks. I don't know if I ever know what happened to Jaden Francois. He was supposed to be here, and he's never played it down.
And he's not the only guy that ever recruits defensive players either. I mean,
right.
Other coaches recruit defensive players as well. I mean, it's not just him. So, I mean, like I said, I love to blame him for whatever we can, but I don't think our defensive woes are his fault. But if you want to blame him, that's perfectly fine with me because I like blaming him for stuff.
There you go.
So, okay. I think that's it. And remember, folks, I don't know if I ever said this. If you send me a question, and I know I've said that I would send some of these things to some of the guys that have already asked questions, but I have some Tijuana Flats cash, so I'm going to pick people that send in questions. Maybe everybody that sends in a question will get one while supplies last. I'll just say that. So I have to give a couple of these away, but I can get more. So while supplies last, if you send in a question for Ask Knightline, you will get some Tijuana Flats cash. So for next time, and I'll put that. I will put that on Twitter the next time I ask for the question too. So, okay. Well, that was it. And those were great questions. Thank you very much for your questions. I always appreciate them. Yeah. Tony is awesome, and Brian W. Peterson as well. Those guys pretty much always ask questions, and I love it. Thank you, guys. All right. So let's get into talking a little bit about this game then. Roger.
Okay.
I'm like
Memphis.
off tonight, just so y'all know. I'm just weird tonight. I don't know what my problem is. I'm tired, I think. I don't know.
We've had a few snafus that you guys haven't heard about, but that's okay.
I had to start the show like 4 different times. So I couldn't even get the intro done. I don't know what my problem is, but let's just get this over with.
Okay. So Memphis game, story for me, turnovers and defense, right? More specifically, red zone defense made all the difference. Yardage wise, we were actually pretty close, but the defense, had turnovers. We had more turnovers than we've seen in a while. I joked on the radio show that I think that, or I hope that we didn't run out of our luck for the year, since we had such bad luck at the beginning of the year, but we had a lot of good luck this game. The 3 picks, 2 of them were off of deflections. We also had our long snapper, Alex Ward, recovered a fumble from a muffed punt, which was whenever you can get your long snapper on a stat sheet, usually that's a good thing for you, unless he's the last guy to make the tackle. So, again, we had a lot of pressure on the QB. We were playing a guy who's never thrown a pass in his career. But the defensive line was handling the offensive line. We had a lot of passes defended. I think it was 8 passes defended, most by the season by far. Justin Hodges looked amazing. He was out for the first couple games of the season, but looks like he's getting his groove. So defensively, I was really, really happy with the game. Offensively, it was a little.
Well, let's
offensive.
talk about defense let's keep talking about defense here for a second.
Okay.
So some notes from the game notes that UCF puts out. I love these things. It marked the least amount of points UCF has given up since allowing just 7 points to South Florida in 2019. The 4 forced turnovers were the most for the Knights defense this season, and the most since forcing 4 against ECU last year. It marked the first time this season that UCF had multiple interceptions in the Knights' first 3 interception games since September 21st, 2018 against FAU. The Knights' 6 sacks were a season high and the most in a game for UCF since the 2018 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl against Auburn in 2018, obviously. January 1st. Big Cat Bryant had his 2 sacks, the first multiple sack game of his career, and 3 tackles for loss were also a career high for him. Devontae Brown recorded his first career interception, his first sack assist, matched his career high with 7 tackles, and had 2 breakups in the game for the 4th time in his career. So Devontae Brown had a great game. Justin Hodges, you mentioned, came into the game with no pass breakups and had a career high 3 on Friday with a career best 6 tackles. Devad Wilson, who we had been kind of thinking was missing for a little while, recorded his first interception as the Knight's second of his career and his first since September 21st, 2019 as a member of the Georgia team against Notre Dame. And Dylan Lester got his second interception of the season, the second of his career, and he's the first Knight with multiple picks this season. So those were the defense notes, which are pretty cool. Yeah, man, the defense played great. It was definitely the best game, I think, of the season for those guys. Here's what Gus had to say about it.
Our defensive front, they got after the quarterback. It all works together. They're harassing the quarterback. He made some throws, but our secondary did a super job. They didn't give up any big plays over the top. They kept everything in front. It was an impressive defensive game. Coach Williams' and staff had a super game plan. That's a high-powered offense. And that quarterback, he was played in a school that was really close to my old job. He's a phenomenal player, and our defense did a great job. I really think we're a good run defense when we put our cleats in the ground and our guys can play fast. And Coach Williams' and his group, they mixed in the zone with the man, and our run fits were really good. Got him in those passing situations, able to pin our ears back. And we played a lot of defensive linemen too, and they were in that feeding frenzy mode. It was great to see.
One of the things that I think that we need to remember is Travis Williams is a new defensive coordinator. He's never been a defensive coordinator before, and he's learning as well. So I want everybody to remember that, because I think that that's a big deal. And I think that his system and the way that he calls plays and coverages and all that gets better and better as we go. So hats off to Travis Williams. I think that he's starting to really get it together, and everybody has a first year. You see what a first year quarterbacks look like, So imagine what it's like to control an entire defense that's not on Madden or NCAA football. That has actual people out there and learning everything about all those players and knowing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, each one of them, and, knowing how to help those guys succeed and call the right plays. It's a hard job. And he's new at it. So I think we should give him a break, and I give him kudos for doing a good job to, this week especially. Was really good in my opinion.
Well, I mean, what I enjoyed was the fact that he talked about it in his post game, that he made some adjustments, right? At the first of all, they weren't expecting to face this quarterback, and the other quarterback that Memphis has been trotting out has been primarily a passer. I love the fact that we were playing less zone and more man coverage. Obviously, that comes with confidence in your secondary and the ability to get pressure. So once he got the pressure dialed up early, he went with more man in favor of getting more pressure on a young quarterback, and it obviously worked. So he said in the second half that they made like 3 or 4 different adjustments to the base defense that they were running, where people were lining up, et cetera. So, just seeing him mature that way and again, continue. The last 2 weeks have been phenomenal for defense, and the red zone defense. We haven't been talking about this enough. I know I've mentioned it a few times,
exactly.
But the red zone defense has just been stellar. I mean, they kept ECU out 3 times out of 4. This last game, I don't know how many times Memphis was down there. It was 2 or 3 times, kept him out of field goal range on one play. So, they seem to do really, really well. Whereas last year, our red zone defense just was terrible. So
our entire defense was horrible last year for the most
towards
part.
The end. Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end when players were eyeing the NFL, and not wanting to play to their fullest, abilities, I think. And after the problems with the players getting released. If you go and look at Travis Williams' bio and look at the 5 seasons that he had as the linebacker coach under Malzahn at Auburn, the defensive stats are pretty good. 14th ranked, 11th ranked, 17th ranked, like a lot of red zone defense and really good rushing defense. And I think that we've seen flashes of that the entire year. We've had some games where the rushing defense was just awesome. And we're missing people, So, excuse me. I keep burping. I shouldn't eat before I do this show, I guess, because last week I was burping. Now I'm burping again.
I wouldn't want to be that microphone. Wow. Dead silence.
Dead silence on that. I was taking a drink. I thought you were going to continue talking.
Oh, okay.
Boy, this is just unedited, man. I haven't been editing this show for a while.
Live and unedited.
Now we're definitely
live, but unedited.
Yeah, it's way better like this. Personally, I used to clean it up way too much. People didn't get the actual vision of what was going on here. I should probably start doing this.
You still don't get the actual vision of what's going on here.
But we could start doing that, though. I've been thinking about doing it like on Facebook or Twitter or something.
Well, we did do it on Periscope a few times very early on. We actually did that before anybody else did, and we were streaming the show on Periscope. So that might be something we can return to, although I will say I will have to figure out a new setup for my
I think I did it on YouTube. Remember when I used to do stuff on YouTube back then? I don't think we ever did Periscope. Maybe once.
No, we did. Okay. We did because we did because I pulled it up on my phone.
Oh, okay.
But But yeah, either way, I'm gonna have to figure out a new setup because right now I'm broadcasting from my bedroom, the South Valley Federal Studios, and it's
The Santa
definitely
Rosa
not.
Beach Studios. Hello.
Yeah, Santa Rosa Beach Studios. Well, we just keep giving more of my address out.
Yeah.
That being said,
Well, you gave the address. I just said Santa Rosa Beach. Santa Rosa Beach is big.
Yeah. So anyway, the point is that
The point is you just gave your address.
Yeah, we should probably edit that.
I don't know. I don't think so. It's
all
right.
Okay.
They'll have trouble finding it.
But anyway, yeah, if you want to take a drive up here to meet me,
Exactly.
I'd be more than happy.
I doubt that
to see you.
anybody's going to do that. So
Exactly. But at the end of the day,
you
I
shouldn't
think
give your address out on the radio or a podcast.
Yeah, probably not the smartest idea.
It's all good.
But yeah. So bedroom.
Roger is a gun owner, by the way.
I am.
So
multiple.
if you show up, if you show up, you're going to get a lead welcome. So
yeah, little
same
bird,
here.
little buck, little bird, little buck.
Exactly. Well, mine's buck, a slug, a buck, a slug. So
well, there you go. But yeah, it's definitely. I would say I'm going to have to relocate my studio setup.
You just need a green screen or something.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's easy. You can buy one of those pop-up ones on Amazon. Anyway, yeah, we I don't know. Maybe we'll do a season-ending YouTube special like we used to do. It's been a long time since we did something like that. Maybe that's what we'll do. I'm going to put that into the works. We'll do it live. That'll be fun. I have lights this time that will not go dead by the end of the show as well. I have lights that actually plug in that are not battery powered like I tried to do that last time. I think that I did one of those. That was good times. Good times. All right. Anyway.
We digress.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. We don't, I don't know. We don't just talk very much. I think sometimes we take this thing too seriously, and it's like the freaking news. So sometimes it's good to just talk and have conversations that don't have anything to do with the rest of it. I don't know. That's just me. Okay, so
all right, Dr. Andrew Freud.
Yeah, back on track though. We should probably talk about the offense. Offense was struggling just a little bit in this game, to say the least.
One side was.
Yeah. The throwing game, the passing game was definitely struggling. And then here's some offensive notes from that. First time UCF has failed to score 30 points in 3 consecutive games since October 15th, Temple, October 22nd at UConn, and October 29th at Houston in 2016. That's a long time ago. The Knights scored on their first possession for the 4th time in 7 games. That's a plus. UCF's opening scoring drive of 4 minutes and 40 seconds was its longest touchdown drive of the season, topping the previous mark of 4:24 against Boise State. It marked the first time that UCF has had less than 300 yards of total offense in back-to-back games since October 29th and November 5th of 2016. Mikey Keene threw his 5th touchdown of the season, and Joey Gatewood threw his first of 2021, and his first since October 19th, 2019, as a member of the Auburn football team against Arkansas. Isaiah Bowser rushed for 26 times, 111 yards, his second 100-yard rushing game of the season and the 6th of his career. Ryan O'Keefe caught 6 passes for 41 yards and a touchdown, his second of the season and 5th of his career. He also rushed for 3 times for 41 yards and his first career rushing touchdown. Brandon Johnson caught his 7th receiving touchdown of the season, which leads the team. So, interesting note about this, since we're talking about wide receivers there. I saw something that was posted on Twitter earlier today, And it must have maybe been said during Coach Malzahn's press conference today, possibly. I didn't even get to listen to it. But Jason Beatty, I guess of the Orlando Sentinel now, on Twitter, the real Beatty, UCF coach Gus Malzahn confirms what I noticed during pregame warmups versus Memphis. Quarterback Quadri Jones has transitioned to wide receiver. Said that move has been in place for about 3 weeks due to a lack of depth at wide receiver. So that's good. Get Quadri on the field. We know he's athletic. We know he's talented. So, we've seen this happen before. This is a thing that happens with quarterbacks. Wide receiver is a great position for quarterback to go to because they know exactly what those wide receivers are supposed to do and where they're supposed to be. And the timing, that is supposed to be there. So good for Quadri. I hope we get to see him score some touchdowns. What about you? What do you think of that move, Roger?
Well, I think that's the only way he sees the field. So I think it's good for him. It's a little concerning that they're citing wide receiver depth as the reason behind it. Although the 4 drops in this game probably have a little bit to do with that. That being said, I mean, good for Quadri, man. If he can get on the field and he's got the talent to do it, why not? He's been in waiting in the quarterback room for a while, and if it gives him an opportunity, then let's see what he can do. We know he can move with the football on the ground, and for a while there, he was our only perfect passer.
Yeah.
But good luck to him, man. Anytime someone gets an opportunity, you saw Jeff Godfrey take advantage of that back in with the Cardiac Knights.
Yep.
And if it gives him an opportunity to get on the field, then good for him, and hope it works out for him.
Yeah, isn't it weird though? Like, remember the whole Godfrey situation, and he was leaving the team and then came back as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
Quadri Jones transferred and then came back, and now he's a wide receiver all of a sudden. Isn't that weird? It's weird how that works. For quarterbacks, switching to wide receiver, I guess you have to leave the team and then come back, and then you can switch to wide receiver. I don't think there must be some kind of
there's definitely something in the water.
There must be a rule about that at UCF. I don't know, but that's good.
It's a team rule, folks.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see him do something. We definitely need something going on with the wide receivers and the tight ends. Personally, I don't know, man. It was just weird.
I don't know what happened to Hescock this year, man. Last year he was he wasn't perfect in catching, but he was catching some. He was definitely catching.
I could go so many places with that I'm not going to.
Wow.
Like limp jokes and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're not doing that. This is a family-friendly show.
If y'all are members of the dungeon, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because anytime Hescock gets mentioned, the whole entire thread in the dungeon turns into like bad impotence jokes. It's freaking hilarious. Dad jokes galore. So what happened to Hescock? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, he's just not even getting opportunities or being targeted. And when he has been earlier in the season, he's dropped the ball. We saw Charlie Browder there in that end zone. 6'7" tight end. I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, he can high point the ball. He missed this one, but that was the first time I believe that we've seen him, try to catch an attempt, and that can definitely be a weapon. You get a guy that's 6'7" against a 5'10" DB. Doesn't matter how well that guy can jump. With the arm length and everything on top of that, there's not much you can do to stop that.
I think Hescock had a penalty in this game or something too that I remember, or maybe that was last game, but I don't know what the deal is with him. I don't know if maybe he's been injured and we just don't know about it. Maybe he's got something lingering that he needs to get taken care of.
Well, we were excited to see him come back this year because remember, this is his 5th year.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, everybody was excited about that. I think the passing game has just kind of gone to the wayside. I believe a little bit with Mikey Keene. Hopefully, they'll open that up a little bit. But we talk a lot about Mikey Keene with Kyle, and I don't totally remember everything we said because we did that actually yesterday when we talked to him. But I kind of cringe every time he throws the ball because he's thrown a few interceptions, and I don't know. Sometimes he throws the ball perfect, and other times it's an interception. It's one of the two. There's not a lot of in-between throws for Mikey Keene. And I understand he's a freshman. We've seen the freshman quarterbacks. We know what happens with the freshman quarterbacks. I mean, our guy KZ did not have a good freshman season. Our guy Dylan had probably the best freshman season out of all these guys, personally. But he struggled at times as well. So I think we need to give Mikey Keene a break a little bit. And I think we may be seeing some progress with him. The 80 yards of passing, though, was just like to see that on the stat sheet and on the scoreboard just blew my mind.
4 drops. He would have had over 200 yards.
Yeah, 63 of those passing yards were his, and then 17 of them were Joey Gatewood's. So the 80 yards of passing. 80 yards of passing. When this offense or this team used to put up 500 and something yards, 700 sometimes. Obviously, there are some pieces missing with that, so that makes a big difference. But yeah, 20 passes thrown, and 13 of them were caught. So that's not very good. No. Lots of drops. Let's hear what Gus had to say real quick about the offense, because he talks about this as well.
There's a lot of frustrating things offensively. We're still growing, and right now we're playing 2 quarterbacks, and we think that gives us the best chance of being successful right now until Dylan comes back. And so we're a work in progress, but we did some really good things. We had some explosive plays. We had the reverse. We had a couple speed sweeps. We got to get to where we can throw it down the field a little bit, and we'll get Flash back in the near future and present really another threat besides O'Keefe, in the deep passing game.
All righty. Well, there you go. He talks about the wide receiver depth right there. Good thing is, though, Flash seems like he may be on his way back from what it sounds like. So still not sure what Flash's issue is. I still never have heard what his injury was or whatever. So I think that's kind of interesting because we usually find out through the grapevine or whatever. But I've heard nothing about that with him. And it sounds like Coach is ready to have him back. And I guess he was seen. This was a Dungeon post or a Twitter post or something. Somebody saw him walking around at Epcot this last weekend on Sunday. So he looked like he was walking fine. He didn't have crutches or a boot or anything like that. So I'm not sure what the deal is with him, but hopefully we will get him back fairly shortly. Roger?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've kind of beaten a dead horse here with the wide receivers. At the end of the day, he's a big piece of that wide receiving core and being able to stretch the field because he's got the speed to create separation. The rest of the folks that we have, O'Keefe does, but his route running is not where it needs to be to create the separation that needs to happen.
Well, he can't be the only guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
That's the reason why you have multiple wide receivers is, they'll cover the 2 guys that they know can catch the ball.
Yeah, so Brandon Johnson would be the other major target that's out there.
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
So yeah, so there's Brandon Johnson and Ryan O'Keefe. So if you know that, to Andrew's point, you can scheme a lot better. Also, you can bring more defenders into the box. That's the other thing that's a byproduct of that as well. Makes you more one-dimensional. As far as Mikey Keene is concerned, in my eyes, I do see some progress with him. He's actually making, by and large, I've seen him throw balls away, like run outside of the hashes and throw the ball away, as opposed to trying to force a pass. He did force one into double coverage again this week, which was basically a punt at that point. But, I have seen him do little things like that, which he wasn't doing before, which help. And again, we talk a lot about Mikey with Kyle, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But if he had some help from his receivers and 4 of those receptions were made, which were not like terribly difficult catches. They were in the chest plates, like right where they needed to be. Then he would have had a 73% completion ratio.
Was it last game or this game where one of them hit the dude right between the eyes, right in the face mask? I'm surprised, in fact, that the football did not get like jammed in his face mask. It hit him straight between the eyes. It was like in the perfect freaking spot. Put your hands up. Man. Yeah, the wide receiver position definitely has some issues. There's some guys with speed, some guys that are tall and all that stuff, and they just need to catch the ball. They need to work on catching, I guess.
Well, and going back to the wide receiver position again, and Ryan O'Keefe, right? He's definitely dangerous on sweeps and different variations of running plays as well. So, there's some shovel passes that have been, that Mikey Keene has been using to create a little extra space for defenders to help with angles to get them out to the edge. We use that effectively against Memphis. I expect that to continue. We also used it against ECU. So there's multiple ways. I think Gus had said post press conference that he wanted to get him at least 8 touches per game. Obviously we've been successful with him, not just trying to catch the ball, but also running the ball or catching shovel passes and running the ball.
Well, Ryan O'Keefe is our best offensive player at this point. I mean, you have to get the ball in his hands, and Gus has repeated that multiple times.
Bowser's pretty darn good too.
Well, but
all around offensive weapon.
Yes. Okay. You're right. I wasn't really. I probably should have clarified that I was talking about wide receivers more than offensive player. I would still say that he would probably be, though, our most electric offensive player. I'll say it like that.
I would agree with that.
And can do multiple things, obviously. And we've seen him catch balls and use that speed. When Dylan was there, he just hasn't had anything down the field to catch in a while. So, okay. Special teams. The special teams weren't horrible this week. Didn't have to punt nearly as much, which was good. And I guess a missed field goal, but that happens. It hasn't happened much. In fact, our Orbowski has had a fairly good year, really, kicking field goals and everything else that he's had to do. He's remarkably better than last year. So,
and the one long kick that he had that not been a penalty beforehand, I think he would have gotten that one too.
Yeah. Here's what Gus had to say on the special teams.
I told our special teams, we just need to play clean. I mean, we need to catch punts. We need to protect our punter. And we did that. We covered the big muff, and that gave us 14-0 lead right there. We got down there, harassed the guy. We covered kicks pretty well. And we were pretty solid, in our kicking game. The field goal was really close right there. That was a tough series right there of events right there before half. But, I think especially we did a solid job.
All right. He has had really good words about Orbowski as well. Gus is very happy with what Orbowski is doing this year. Back to the running backs real quick. I want to play this clip because Gus had something to say about Bowser.
I mean, he's an impact player. He's not 100%, and you can see he just leans on people. He runs through tackles. He has that ability. That last run he made to seal the deal, there wasn't a whole lot there, and he bounced it out. We were wanting to have his carries. I think at 20, he carried at 26, but we'll be smart with him this week, and hopefully he'll be closer to 100% next week.
Yeah, he definitely was not 100%, but is definitely getting better. Throughout the last couple of weeks. Did not look good at Cincinnati, obviously, and but quite a bit better this week, for sure. Not as agile as he has been out there, though, on the field. So it will be great to get him back. One of the other things, Gus, I don't know if y'all noticed it or they picked it up on TV or whatever. I noticed it because it kind of happened right in front of me where I was sitting. Gus was up the referees' butts like you would not believe. After that, it was right before half, and they had that delay a game call where the referee was standing literally over the ball, so we couldn't go, but they called delay a game on us, which is crazy in my opinion. I was just like, what is going on? In fact, my voice was like messed up, not because I was really yelling loud while we were on defense. I was yelling at the refs more than anything else this game. They were horrible. Here's what Gus had to say.
I don't know. I mean, it just seems like this year, there's been 3 or 4 games that they let people come on, they let people walk off, and then the play clock's going down. That one right before the halftime, we put a guy in there with 17 seconds. The guy stood over the ball, and then we get a 5-yard. I don't know. We got to – I don't know. This is new to me. I've never seen that before, but it's happened 4 straight, or really 4. It didn't happen last week, but it happened the 3 before and this one. So I don't know. That's a new one.
It's pretty rare that you hear a coach even go there with the referees. I think that I'm not sure if it's like at the pro level or whatever where they can get fined for dogging on the referees, but I'm glad that he's saying something because he definitely was on the field as they were walking into the locker rooms. He was just ripping them. And I love to see that. I love to see Gus upset. You know, the best pictures of Gus upset on the sidelines, you know, he just has that mean freaking look on his face. I think that's the best part about Gus. I love that he gets pissed off like that. So the other thing is we've never really seen him do that with the media very much. Every once in a while, though, somebody will ask a question that he doesn't like. This week, he definitely told this guy in a nice way that he didn't like the question.
That's a confidential conversation, but, I mean, he's our quarterback, you know, and this is his 4th game, and, you know, we have high expectations. I think he's capable of being a very good quarterback, and he's learning and growing, and, you know, so that was really, it was just a kind of a coach-quarterback conversation.
In other words, none of your business. I love it that he did that personally.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah. Some questions that, I mean, and I've done it. I've asked questions that I probably shouldn't have before as well. This was a student, I believe, like a student newspaper guy or whatever, and just kind of needs to learn the etiquette of coaching, of media and question asking, interviewing. He asked what, you know, the conversation was between him and Mikey on the sideline, because he ripped into Mikey a couple times when he came off, and rightly so. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool. All right, one thing that we haven't gotten into yet, really, we talked a little bit about Bowser, but, I mean, what a job by the running backs in this game. Bowser especially, not being 100%, but putting the numbers up like he did and just pounding Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Bowser is a handful. And when he gets ahead of steam, he's really, really good at following his blockers. But once he sees a hole, he makes one cut and then he's gone. And, you know, he's not afraid to run over anybody, any linebacker that is in his way, anybody in the secondary that's in his way. And, you know, we had over 200 yards of rushing this game. And for
Thank
Bowser.
God. Thank God we had the 200 yards of rushing, or we would have like 80 yards of passing.
He had 26 carries for 111 yards on his own. Johnny Richardson had another 6 for 47, and Ryan O'Keefe 3 for 41. So again, we knew that we were going to be able to run on Memphis, but again, we averaged more. And by the way, I don't think we mentioned this earlier. This is the lowest yardage total that Memphis is at all season. They were averaging 400 yards, over 400 yards per game. So again, hats off to the defense, but thank goodness for that for that offense and that running game, because we were able to manage the clock and take away possessions and, limit any potential damage that Memphis could do. So
yeah, that wide
was a
receiver that
combination
they
win.
have, I think is it Austin?
Gainwell.
Is it Gainwell?
No, not Gainwell.
Calvin Austin, I think.
Calvin
is
Austin.
the guy.
He's an NFL player.
Well, yeah, he only had 44 yards, 14 targets, and 7 receptions. So for 44 yards, we shut him down completely. So that's awesome. Obviously, they had a quarterback situation there, so understandable. But still, that guy can do the business. He can do all kinds of things with all-purpose yards and everything else. All-purpose yards for him was 44 this week.
Well, what we did really well was stop the screen game with him, because they kept trying to set up either tunnel screens or screens for him because he's so elusive once he gets going. But our defensive backs did a really, really good job of staying home and, making tackles. Now, that being said, our tackling is still suspect. We like to arm tackle out there. But as far as stopping him and the screen game, we did a fairly good job.
I'm not so worried about the tackling when we can do all this other stuff, the turnovers especially. You can make up for some of that lackluster tackling with turnovers. So...
well, yeah. I mean, if it's a 4-1 advantage, you're 99%.
I'm not worried about tackling, is
game.
what I'm saying at that point. Yeah. So, okay. Anything more about that, or shall we move on? We need to take a break. We haven't taken a break the entire show, and we're an hour in.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break.
All right, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back, and we will talk to Kyle.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, joining us now, Kyle Israel. Kyle, it's been a while since we talked. A lot has happened since then. I don't know. I don't even remember, honestly, the last time we talked.
I think we talked after Navy.
Okay, yeah. So it's been since Mikey Keene has been in at quarterback. They really seem to be taking it really easy with him and trying to, I don't know, ease him into it, I guess Gus is doing. But he winds up throwing some interceptions. I think, is that just part of being a freshman, or is there something he's doing wrong?
No, I think it's part of being a freshman. There's a lot of novelty when you're that young. We know that Mikey is really young in age, having just turned 18 only a small time ago. So I think when you're learning a new offense, when you're the guy, and when there's, points in a game where, we're not in the last couple games, we struggled some on first and second down, which has put pressure on him, and third down. And it's not always 3rd and 3 to 4, but 3rd and long. So I think you start to, try to make some plays when you're in those situations. But I do think that we're being a bit careful with them. I think that's okay. And, we scored 20 something points this game. And that's all we needed to do to win. So I'll take a win with a true freshman quarterback. You can see what the alternative is. Memphis had a true freshman quarterback. He obviously threw a couple of interceptions, and in the passing game, wasn't very strong. So if you want to judge Mikey against another true freshman, I mean, we had the opportunity to do that Friday night.
Exactly, yeah. So some people have talked about the throwing motion of Mikey Keene, and I don't think that throwing motions mean as much anymore as they used to. Has that changed a little bit with guys like Patrick Mahomes and the guys out there with throwing motions? Is it as big of a thing, or does it need to be as big of a thing as it was before, I guess?
I think expectations have changed. And listen, if we compare everybody to Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position, we're really not being fair.
He's not doing too good today, but he didn't do good at all today. But anyway,
I think what you have seen, and I'm pretty close to how quarterbacks are being trained today. And yes, they're changing different arm motions. They're changing the way the position was conceptualized in regards to how it's being played, throwing from many angles, throwing on the run, intentionally practicing throwing from these unorthodox platforms, or, a contortion in the body. Like, you're seeing guys are going out there and being trained to be able to do that. I think with Mikey's motion, it just doesn't seem as fluid or quick. It's a little bit more of a wind-up. Almost looks like an outfielder at times.
Exactly.
A baseball into home plate.
Right.
I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. It just looks, you notice it, right? So we notice it, we say something about it. But I go back to a couple of throws he made. He made a throw on an out route to Ryan O'Keefe the other night, which was about a 12-yard out route across the field, and he put it right on the money. I mean, that's arguably the hardest ball to throw in football, and he did it very accurately and with great pace. So I think those are things that you can clean up and that you can make more efficient in the offseason. I'm sure we'll see that with Mikey, but it doesn't look like a McKenzie release. It doesn't look like a Dillon release. It's not that quick. And so it draws attention a little bit.
Right. And I think that's more what it is than anything else, is that, it does draw your attention because it's not what we've been used to for the last couple of years, and it's not a fast release. It's a slow kind of a wind-up thing. But he is accurate. When he's accurate, he's extremely accurate, if that makes sense. We've all seen him make some incredible throws. The one in the end zone the other night in the corner was great too. So that was a touch pass, and it had to be in the right spot. So Roger, you got something for?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people that was talking about that, and for my seat, it was more along the lines of, is his timing off with his receivers, because he seems like a tick late with some of the passes, and you watch that throwing motion, and it would, if you're winding up like that, either A, it gives that defender a little extra time to bat a ball down, or two, it kind of throws your timing off with your receivers. So that was more of where I was coming at it from, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And then secondly, what do you feel, another hot topic with regard to quarterback is the 2 QB rotation that we have going on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, on how that affects rhythm and confidence, etc.
Well, I think with the first, to your point, Roger, with the first question around the throwing motion, the timing, I think naturally, oftentimes young quarterbacks are a little bit late, and half a second matters. So if you're a little bit late naturally, and I would say most are at his age, sometimes the throwing motion can make up for it. Sometimes it exasperates it. So I think it's a little bit more noticeable as things become less novel, as there's more kind of routine templates built in where timing becomes a subconscious thing. Then the throwing motion, I think, doesn't hinder it as much. But when there's novelty, when you're, the one thing I can remember when I was younger, so like my freshman and sophomore year of playing, really my freshman year, is often I wasn't as confident, or I didn't have the instant validation that what I was seeing was in fact what I was supposed to be seeing. And so where a guy's supposed to be, and maybe that zone on the field is open, but then you do this like half or quarter second take of, okay, well, still, where's the defense? And it slows you down just a little bit because you're trying to validate and prove to yourself that you're seeing what you should be seeing. When you put his throwing motion, which is, again, a bit longer, then it kind of exasperates the whole thing. So I think the more that we see Mikey playing, the more experience he has, the more time that he has in this offense, he'll be more comfortable. He'll have more templates that creates more auto retrieval in real time. And I don't think, you'll notice with throwing motion. But again, if I was on the quarterback staff and I'm not with him every day, right, I don't see all his one-on-ones and routes versus errors and just warming up. But I'd say, okay, how do we make this throwing motion more efficient? But there's no doubt that he has plenty of velocity. There's no doubt that he can be very accurate. And again, I go back to my first statement. We saw what I would call somebody being very inaccurate and not being on time and being confused looks like, and that was Memphis's quarterback when he was forced to throw the football. And so you make that comparison, you maybe not as critical of Mikey.
So what are your thoughts on the 2 QB rotation?
Yeah, 2 QB. I'm not a huge fan in general of the 2 QB system. Some schools can make it work. You look at what Florida's trying to do with their 2 quarterbacks. I mean, it's just not ideal for the starter, especially. If you're the backup guy or you're the second in the rotation, you love it because you're finding ways to get onto the field and it's not really playing head games with you. As long as it's framed the right way, as long as Coach Malzahn is in that quarterback room throughout the week and saying, here's what we're thinking of doing and here's why we're doing it this way. If you can make sense of that and you can get both players to buy into it, or at least conceptually understand it, then I think you can work with it to some extent. Now, for example, when I was playing, if I got pulled out of the game, even when Michael Greco was there, it was typically not because we wanted to do some type of dual quarterback, hey, let's use Mike in the running game. It was like Coach O'Leary was pissed at me. And he wanted to pull me out on the sideline for a few minutes. And that really starts to mess with a quarterback's head. So I think that, although not ideal, and you still got to be precise about when you do it because you don't want to take a guy out of rhythm, and Mikey was playing good in the beginning of that game. You got to be very careful about that, but it's critical that the coach is framing the scenario as to why they're doing it. And if you can make sense and both players understand the why, I think it can work to some extent. I just don't think it's ideal overall because it is impacting the other 10 guys on the field. It is a change in the cadence. It is a change in the style of leadership. There's a lot of variables that come into play. But for us right now, we've been trying to create matchups, not really anticipating that Dylan would go down this season. And, Gatewood has been a guy that Coach Malzahn feels comfortable with in certain scenarios, and those typically are in running scenarios. And so I'm okay with it right now to some extent. But again, if we were rotating Dylan and another guy or something like that, it wouldn't make much sense. But we've tried to create points and manufacture points any way that we can, and so it can create issues. I think the framing of it from the coaching staff is a really critical element.
Yeah, and Gus has been talking with the media a little bit more about this and has been asked questions repeatedly about it. And this week he did say, hey, look, I'm not, it's not my thing to normally do a 2 quarterback thing. It's not what I like to do, but I think it's best for the team. And that he had specific plays that were scripted out long before the game actually was taking place, but specific plays that he wanted Joey to come in on. And, so he admits that he doesn't like it, but he thinks that it's best for the team, I guess. So, whatever. Do you think that we've seen, have you seen improvement in Mikey since his first start, do you think?
I think that's one of the harder things to make it a decision on or to be objective about. I think that there's plays that you go, man, that was an incredible throw, and he really saw the defense. But at times it feels as though it's hard to judge because you finally get our starting running back. We still don't have Jalen back. It seems as though one of the guys that we're trying to get to the football to as much as possible is Ryan O'Keefe, right? So I think there's been improvement made, probably more subtle than the naked eye could tell with Mikey. Nothing that's like overwhelming, like, holy smokes, this is just a totally, player that's completely evolved in the last couple of games. But I think that we've been shorthanded in other areas that just hasn't been the case for us in the past. Right? You think of the receivers and tight ends McKenzie had. You think of the receivers that Dylan has had. Mikey's arguably coming in when we don't have a backfield that we anticipated having come into the season. Our wide receiver core is still, figuring itself out. But I think there's been some improvement. It's really hard to quantify what that looks like. And it'll be interesting, as Dylan recovers, how Dylan will fall back into the mix. But let's go back to McKenzie year one. Saw a big jump from year one to year two. I think you saw improvement with Dylan from year one to year two. And if Mikey's on the field next year, I'm confident we would see just natural improvement as well. I think more of what we're seeing now is probably, hard to see with the naked eye. But if you, looked at a grade from a game, or you looked at a film intensely like a coaching staff would, there's probably definite improvements kind of hidden throughout there.
Yeah, and we definitely know. Like you mentioned, we've seen it with our freshman to sophomore year quarterbacks. It's usually a huge change. And that's normally where you see the most improvement. Now, you mentioned Dylan in there a couple of times. There is a little bit of speculation just because of a couple things that were said by Gus Malzahn this weekend, kind of saying something about when we get Dylan back. I mean, we all know 6 to 8 weeks with a broken bone, blah, blah, blah. But with a collarbone on your throwing arm, what do you think the potential is that we see him again this year? I don't think it's very high.
Well, there's two sides of that, right? There's like, okay, when is it healthy and when is Dylan comfortable coming back and playing? And my pure Kyle Israel speculation
that's what I ask about.
Is that he probably returns next year because I don't think he'll have the same status going into draft consideration as he would, let's say, if he had another standout, highly statistical season. And I think that he's going to feel like there's some business that still needs to be done here at UCF. Whether or not he comes back this year, I think of how he's positioning next season in his mind comes into play. Is he going to try to go into the draft? Well, I don't know that there's anything he can improve in the last couple of games this year that would increase his draft position. But if he's going to come back next year and he feels like he's healthy enough and he wants to, kick the tires one more time this year and, get some more playing time, then we may see him. But a collarbone is one of those things where often when you're a quarterback and you get tackled, you're typically not bracing or supporting yourself. And that's how this injury happened, right? And so with a collarbone, you want to be very careful because you never know in a game. You may only get hit 8 times, but one of those times somebody drives your shoulder into the ground, and if that bone is not completely healed, you're at risk for breaking it. So I think it's totally up in the air. I think where his frame of mind is going into next season will dictate how much we would see him this year.
Yeah. I don't want to see him this year, to be honest with you. I would just rather, especially just with the way that things are going, in my personal opinion, if he wants to come back and do it again next year and try to get that draft stock back up, I mean, this year was pretty much lost for him, I believe. And it should be medically redshirted availability as well because it was within the 4 games. So I think he should get an extra year, even though he would still have one anyway. But Roger.
Yeah, so I like the new Pure Kyle. I'm going to call it Organic Kyle. But for me, one of the things that I'm interested in is his thought process on, he's establishing his pocket presence a little bit more. I like seeing that from him. He seems like he's not constantly running out. He's kind of stepping up. But the big thing is, for me, is the decision-making when it comes to tucking the ball and run. Because every time he was a dual-threat quarterback coming out of high school, and every time I see him when he takes a sack or it's a little too long, it feels like, and when I'm watching the box, he's not counting the box properly and understanding, hey, I can tuck this and run and get 9 or 10 yards. Now, That being said, a lot of this is on third down, as you alluded to earlier. What's your thought process around that? Is that just coaching, or is that him learning or not seeing his progressions fast enough, or what's causing that?
Well, I mean, offenses are different, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure I ever had much of a thought process when I was, let's say in shotgun on third down, where I was counting the box to dictate if, in fact, I needed to scramble, whether or not it was going to be open. I mean, you recognize two-man and you go, okay, it's 3rd and 12, and two-man, if they don't have a spy on me, then I should be able to escape and have a chance to get a first down. But counting the box, that's an advanced level of football from a quarterback perspective, to be thinking about the play that you're trying to execute, understanding how many men are in the box, and then kind of parking that in the back of your mind in the case that you actually have to scramble. That's truly an advanced line of thought. So I think those types of things will improve with time. I think often, quarterbacks who do have an ability to throw the football, resort to the running later. I mean, let's look at Dylan's progression from where he was the last 2 years up until what we saw early this season. He was definitely being more effective. He was being more precise with choosing when to run the football, but he was very effective. And I think we've seen that progression over time. I would anticipate we'd see the same type of progression with Mikey. But that, you think of it sometimes as like, well, we're just talking about him deciding to run the football and scramble. But often guys are being coached to wait at the last second to try to allow wide receivers to get open. We've seen Dylan do that really good. If Mikey's watched film of McKenzie, which I'm sure he has, McKenzie was really good at creating time and space and finding lanes to throw the football. You go back to Patrick Mahomes and what you're seeing on TV, you're seeing quarterbacks work out of the pocket a lot more with the intention of throwing the football, knowing they can run if they have to. So I think that will get better. But I do think that the down and distance plays some factor in that, right? If it's 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 8, it seems like we're getting in a lot of 3rd and longs. You're usually thinking about how can I push the ball down the field with a pass to get this first down and not let me see if I can wait and scramble for a first down. But I do think over time, if he continues to play and be the guy, we'll see progression there.
Yeah. Very run heavy this week. Isaiah Bowser was back for the second week in a row. Still not 100%, but a little bit better than last week, I think. 26 carries, 117 yards, 4.3 average. What did you think of what you see from Isaiah Bowser? He is one of my favorite players. I know that most of the people that listen to me and listen to these shows know that, but I just love this guy.
Well, I think that he definitely changes the game for us because he wears the defense out. I guarantee you linebackers and defensive linemen and strong safeties don't like seeing him in the backfield because he's going to try to run you over. And he creates a lot of steadiness throughout the rest of the offense. I think when you have some of our other backs in there who are a little more shifty, for an offensive lineman, it kind of changes how you block a tiny bit. Our offensive line the other night, and it was noticeable, was getting to the second level, was blocking guys down the field almost as though they knew Isaiah would break a tackle at a minimum and that they should be getting to that second level because they could be making critical blocks. There's a whole psyche that's behind all elements of an offense. And I think when he's in the game, our offensive line blocks differently. I think our play calling is different. I think there's a sense of comfort from our quarterback's perspective. And he doesn't get brought down often from the first hit. He breaks a tackle. And that's what demoralizes the defense throughout a game. If you're making contact with the back at 2 yards, but he's picking up 5 or 6, that's demoralizing. So to your point, I can see why you're a fan, Andrew. I think he's been a great addition to this team. It's stunk that he got hurt, that Dylan got hurt, that Jalen got hurt, because I don't know that we're ever going to get to see what could have been, but we're only a few plays away from having a totally different record, and I think Isaiah would have been a huge part of a 5-1 or 6-0, 7-1 UCF team right now. But he definitely changes the dynamic of the game, and he's a big, big asset for this team.
Yeah, for me, you mentioned pass protection. I love watching him because pre-snap, he's looking to see and he's reading the defense and understands where the pressure is going to come. So, usually you're looking to the quarterback to set where the running back's going to be when he's on pass protection duties. But you'll see Bowser, talk or say something to Mikey, and then he'll motion over, and then he'll adjust based on what the angle is that the defender is going to take. So, that's experience to watch that happen. Now, a little bit different of a question. So, our receivers have been dropping a lot of balls. Mm-hmm. So the question is, obviously the spin and rotation on the ball is a little bit different. So there's a thought that maybe that has something to do with it. But we had some drops last season as well. What do you think it is about the receivers that we have? Obviously, we don't have Jalen, but with these balls that are being thrown, that they're just dropping.
I don't know.
I stumped Kyle.
My real answer to that, it's just, you expect guys at this level to catch some of these balls, right? Like, there's just an expectation. Yeah, you see some dropped across college football, but with 7-on-7, with so much emphasis on the passing game at the high school level now, it should be an expectation at our level that if you have a chance to catch the football, you're going to be capable of doing that. Is that coaching? Is it technique? Is it types of reps at practice? I really don't know the answer to that type of question. Other than the expectation is there, I couldn't really make an excuse for why they may not be. So if UCF's going to be a team that is a one-loss team or trying to be undefeated every year, we've got to make these, often big plays in critical moments. And the receiver's got to catch the ball. I don't think that you can make any excuse about throwing motion, about what the ball looks like, about going from a lefty quarterback to a righty quarterback. These guys have been catching passes from a lefty or righty all summer. So we've definitely got to improve it. You can't leave big plays out there on the field. Can't beat really good teams without taking advantage of those plays. And let's face it, coaches work really, really hard throughout the course of the week to create schemes that create opportunities to get guys open. And when you get open, even like some of these drop passes have been, you got to make the play. And that's just the reality.
Yeah. Speaking of schemes and got to make the play, the defense really turned it on this week. One person in particular, I think Big Cat Bryant had a great game. Tatum Bethune continues to have great games, but 6 sacks this week, 3 interceptions. What do you think of the job that the defense is doing and those a couple people that I talked about that were standouts?
Well, I think that going into the game, when you found out who was going to be the starting quarterback for Memphis, if I was our defense, I'd be licking my chops. You have an inexperienced quarterback who's probably going to try to force the football. Where Navy in their style of offense kind of eliminated Big Cat from, what he's good at, which is creating pressure, beating a one-on-one matchup and sacking the quarterback, or at least creating pressure in the pocket. They neutralized him in that game. And I think that this game, they were trying to have that, although that quarterback was fast and shifty and could get out of the pocket, when they were having him just drop back in the pocket, you're seeing what, another true freshman is struggling with, which is pocket presence, which is awareness, which is getting rid of the football on time, holding on to it too long, trying to make too much happen. And who is that an advantage for? It's an advantage for a pass rusher, a talented pass rusher like Big Cat. It's an advantage to a defensive backfield who's playing sound coverage. And I thought we reaped the benefits of, understanding that a quarterback of that age with that lack of experience was going to make mistakes. And we just capitalized on those mistakes. And that's what I thought we saw unfold. But our defense is, I think, continuing to get better. I think that as time goes on, there'll be more continuity that's built amongst the defense. I think Coach Williams, who is obviously still young in his own right, is still figuring out how he wants to coach, when he wants to call plays, when he wants to call different schemes. And I would expect to see the defense continue to improve. But we did what we were supposed to do, which is take advantage of an offense that was playing a guy that was very young and inexperienced.
Yeah, what you saw this game that we haven't seen, we've been in zone pretty much the entire time all season. I think that's a byproduct of not necessarily trusting the defensive backs. And you saw Coach switch to man coverage this game, especially at the half, because obviously they weren't expecting to play against this quarterback. I think a byproduct of that is, just the success that we were having on the defensive line. But we had 8 passes defended, which is more than we've had all season. On average, we've averaged about 2 to 3 passes defended per game. Do you think that's just the quarterback, or do you think that that's a better play by the defensive backs, and specifically Justin Hodges, because he had a great game?
Well, I think our defensive backs are playing much better. They're getting settled in. I think a DB wants to play in man coverage. It's just based off the typical psyche and mentality of a defensive back. And we know we have talent back there, but it's very inexperienced. And so, how do you create how do you play with inexperience? Is you simply got to wait till they can get more reps under their belt. And I think we're seeing what happens when that's the case. And when you can play man coverage, that typically means you're getting an extra pass rusher, which means you're creating pressure. And defensive backs and man coverage, when there's pressure, often get more opportunities to make plays. In zone, hey, you got a zone to cover. Like, stay in that zone, even if the pass is underneath, come up and make the tackle. But when you're in man coverage, you're expected to make a play on the football. And so I like that shift because it allows our guys that are very athletic, a bit inexperienced, but very athletic, start having opportunities to make more plays. And I think we're starting to see that some. I'm excited to see where this defense can go, but I just think early on in the season, we had some guys that needed to get more reps, to get more experience. And now we're going, okay, we got some pretty talented guys back here. And with time, I think they can be superb. But we also had some extremely great, talented defensive backfields over the last couple of years that are, not typical in college football. So there's a lot to live up to and a high expectation to play defensive back at UCF after the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so I'm going to go out a little bit on a limb on this one, but I won't take up too much more of your time. I guess with the way that things have gone and with all the injuries and all the different things, there's quite a few Gus Malzahn naysayers. What do you say to those people? And what do you think of the job that Gus has done given the situation of this year with all the injuries, especially? All your star players have been injured at one point or another this entire year. It has to be difficult for him. It's not an easy coaching situation. If we had somebody besides a very coach that's been around a long time, it probably wouldn't even be this good.
No, I mean, I'm fine with what I'm seeing. I mean, to your point, the injuries. You have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and you lose him. That's a huge blow, especially to an offensive-minded coach, right? You lose your best asset. And then you try to plug another asset in there that's a lot younger, and you lose some key assets around him. And so I don't think that 1 year at all is enough time to judge a coach and to judge what he may or may not do for the future. You point to Luke Fickell. You look at some of the early seasons that he had. You look to Scott Frost in his first year, right? People were booing our eventual Hall of Famer and Mackenzie Milton in his last game of the season. Listen, I think that our fan base just needs to take a little bit of a chill pill. We were pushing Josh Heupel out of the door. I think that we probably underestimated at least how easy he made offenses look, right, we were putting up, we talked about it on the show, 550 yards, 560 yards, and we saw from him this massive production, offensive production. Gus Malzahn's not ever going to be that for the most part. That's not his style of coaching. So I think it's still really early. I'm fine with what I've seen, and the circumstances are very, very challenging considering the injuries. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I'm cool with it. I think that some of the little things, penalties, you want to see those continue to improve. You want to see the things that aren't just related to athleticism or skill. If we were completely unsound, if we were, getting penalties all the time as far as personal fouls or false starts or things that are mental errors, I'd scratch my head some, but it's way too early for us to have any type of opinion on Gus Malzahn. Time will tell, but this isn't enough time.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, man, we're not going to take any more of your time. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to talking to you again. I know our schedules haven't quite met up, but we'll work harder on that.
Well, totally appreciate it. Love coming on, guys. Understand everybody's super busy, but still got football ahead of us, and excited to see where the rest of the season goes.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, guys.
All right, good to talk to Kyle again. It'd been a couple of weeks, just our schedules weren't really meeting up, which is, Kyle's a busy dude. So, and then we are too. So it's gets more difficult and more difficult, but we will get him back on here. And sorry about you may have heard that the audio changed in there. We were using two different devices, and I think we settled that the one device is way better than the other, so we're just connection issues. So you never know where Kyle's going to be. Sometimes he's in his car, sometimes he's making food, all kinds of stuff.
Sometimes he's at the gym.
Yeah,
sometimes
you hear all kinds of crazy stuff from in the background because Kyle never stops moving, I don't think. So all good, though. We love him. What else? I guess let's talk about this Temple matchup, I guess, a little bit, because that is coming up on Saturday. It is on ESPN Plus, and I know some of you are going to be upset that it's on ESPN Plus because for some reason you're in the dark ages and still do not have ESPN Plus. They're not paying me to say this, by the way, but ESPN Plus is awesome. There is so much stuff on there that you don't get to see. There are football games of universities that you've never even heard of before. Universities that I've never heard of before, which is amazing because I love to watch all the different levels of college football, like all the way to Division III I will watch. So, and even smaller than that, NAIA and everything else. So there is tons of college football and every other sport that you could think of on ESPN Plus. So if you haven't got it, you got to get it for this weekend at least to see the Temple game, I guess, because that's where it's going to be.
At least it's not CBS Sports.
Well, yeah, we're lucky that it's not that. I saw that next week's game is going to be ESPNU as well, by the way. The Tulane game will be ESPNU. But this game coming up, ESPN Plus, at noon next Saturday in Philly. Right now we are a 10.5-point favorite. This changes constantly, which, it hasn't changed since the last time I was complaining about it changing. So that's good. 10.5-point favorite on the road, which I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. Temple must be really, really bad. Because we have
they only average 22 points per game.
Well, we have not done well on the road this year at all. So, for us to be a 10.5-point road favorite is pretty good, in my opinion.
Well, we are an 86.2% favorite. We're still averaging 32.7 points
on the matchup predictor.
Correct.
Yeah. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, I always have to add, because who knows where this comes from besides that. Because it can be deceiving sometimes. I love it. I love to look at it. It gives me confidence. But then again, you can watch that during the game and see it sway because of things that happen in the games. It's pretty cool, actually. If you watch on the ESPN app or whatever, you can click on that matchup predictor, and it will actually, you can see it like real-time move. It's pretty cool. Fun stuff.
So the other thing for Temple, just offensively, they're just not very good. They're averaging 327 yards per game. Although this past game we didn't do too well, but
so are we.
We're actually averaging 419 right now. They allow 378 yards per game versus our 371. Temple is 3-7. Their last loss was to the Cows, handing them their first FBS win in like 700 days or something like that. They do have wins against Akron, Wagner, and Memphis, consequently. UCF did win last year's game. Yards, as far as passing is concerned, it's 213 versus their 215. For the running game, we're averaging 205. They're averaging 111. So we obviously have an advantage when it comes to the running game. So I'd expect Gus to give them a heavy dose of thunder. They allow 221. They rush for 111. We rush for 205. They allow 221 rush yards per game and 157 through the air, which would play right in our hands, at least as how it stands from this last game. So we are playing at Temple, so it'll be a little chilly. But this should get us one step closer, our fifth win, and one step closer to continuing our bowl streak. So hopefully we can continue that moving forward as well.
Over-under on this one is 51.5. So
that's not saying much for points, folks.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever. Yeah, I would hope that we would beat these guys, but my only concern is we have not done well on the road. We have not won a game on the road, as a matter of fact. So that scares me a little bit, just because maybe this is the one, I guess, to start that back off, because we have to go on the road one more time after this against SMU, which could be ugly as well. So, because they are ranked number 19 at this point, and doing quite well, very offensive. So we
very
shall
offensive
see.
Offensively.
Yes. Well, I mean, whatever. So
where's my come on? You said you were
I
give me that
need to do something like that. I need to get something. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this. We need to go in there and do some stuff. Obviously on offense, need to get that going. Maybe this is the chance to go out there and get Mikey Keene throwing the ball downfield.
Let me just put it to you this way. I think our defense is going to be really solid against a team that averages 22 points a game and 300 and change overall. I have a lot. We'll talk about our predictions a little bit later in our Tijuana Flats hot take of the week. But I expect us to win this one and win big, because I think our defense comes through.
All righty. Well, what else do we want to talk about? We've got some time here. We always have extra stuff to talk about. We hardly ever get to it. So
yeah.
How about looking at this? The AAC added a bunch of teams this week for, I think, after we're gone, personally. I don't think that any of these teams will be playing until we're gone. Thank goodness, because it's turning into Conference USA. They took them all from Conference USA. FAU, Charlotte, North Texas, University of Texas, San Antonio, Rice, and UAB. Rice and UAB were both in the Conference USA when we were. Not too exciting. UAB has come back, and one of these teams, UTSA, is ranked right now. They are, I believe, number 24 or number 25. So they are ranked. They've been having a great season in Conference USA, enough to get ranked. So
all very, very young programs with the exception of UAB. UAB was killed by Alabama's Board of Governors and came back and was resurrected and is doing really, really well. They are the Frankenstein Halloween team for us this week. I guess the Cows are going to have a new rival in FAU. So I hope they enjoy that. I look forward I will look forward to departing the AAC. It's been great for us, but I look forward to our new future in the Big 12, and good luck to the new teams joining.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting. FAU, I think, may be the cream of the crop in that new one. I don't know. Maybe somebody else will be, but.
Well, I mean, Rice is good in other things. They've got a killer baseball team, so that'll help. They've always done really, really well in baseball. So
go ahead. What's interesting from this though is 3 Texas teams. That's interesting to me. They lost a Texas team, with Houston going with us to the Big 12, and they gained 3 different Texas teams, and now they are in Dallas, headquartered now, the AAC. So
yeah, and you know what? At the end of the day, honestly, to me, this is the death of the AAC as a Power 6 conference. I think that domination goes away. I think a lot of these schools will, they'll beat up on each other. I mean, you've still got maybe ECU can pick itself up off the mat and start competing again with a conference with those folks. Although I kind of feel bad for them.
I would say SMU is the highlight.
That's where I was going next.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the Cows, I hope they continue to be downtrodden. They've got 4 recruits this year. So congratulations to the Cows.
I love it. What a mess. What a mess is going on over there. That's crazy. I mean, I always wished this for them, but I just didn't realize it was going to get this bad. It's bad. I mean, I watched a little bit of that game between them and Temple.
Mm-hmm.
It was at USF's, the Cows rented stadium over there, and there was nobody there. There had, maybe 4,000, maybe at the most. And it's a NFL stadium. It's a fairly large stadium. It's I think one of the smaller NFL stadiums, but it looks pretty bad in there when there's nobody there.
Right.
So, and even their alumni, you look at Twitter and it's comical. If you have a chance to go on their rivals board, it's really comical.
A lot of boo-mooing going on over there.
Man, yeah. Their people are completely done, and this guy that's their coach now that came from Clemson was supposed to be the savior of that entire program, and absolutely 100% is not. And they have a good offensive coordinator, though. They have Charlie Weiss's kid, and we all know Charlie Weiss was an incredible offensive coordinator for years. So the kid definitely has, some talent as far as that goes. Maybe they should make him a head coach. I think he's 25 or 28 at the maximum, and he's a offensive coordinator in college football, which is very young. So I believe he was a quarterback, either a quarterback or a tight end at my Kansas team. I cannot remember. I think he was a quarterback when his dad was the coach, I believe. It was a few years ago. I know he was on the team. So he's young. But good for him. And maybe he can get that team turned around when they're stuck in the American. Irrelevant. So anyway, what else? Bob Bowlesby. You take that one.
Yeah, Bob Bowlesby was talking a little bit about...
Who is the Big 12's commissioner, by the way?
Correct. About the depth of the Big 12 and how it compares, how he feels it compares. And he just came out and said that, he feels like the depth in the Big 12 is better than the ACC, which we've said before, better than the Pac-12 as well. He also mentioned how that process came together and why the Big 12 chose the schools that they did. Part of it was
bigger
recruiting.
Is better.
Yeah, part of it was recruiting, but basically they said it was the best available on the table. So Boise and Memphis were the next in line to join, but he did mention there was some speculation when this was all announced of UCF joining that there may be a second round or second wave. And, Bob didn't exactly tamp that down when he was asked about that in the introductory conference. Press conference for UCF joining the Big 12. However, he did certainly sound like there wasn't any opportunity for growth right now. So going back to that AAC as a Power 6, Memphis is another school that, in football has built a little bit of a brand here recently, has done well. If they continue that, that'll be good for them. And obviously their basketball has always been good. So hopefully, with Penny being there, we'll see.
And they want
how
that
long
FedEx
lasts.
money. The Big 12 wants that FedEx money. Is what that's all about.
Yeah, bring that delivery truck.
I think a better team, to be honest with you, a better school all around would be SMU personally, but they're not big. So he definitely
not enough fans.
Definitely, it's alumni and students. He was saying
it's a small private school, so even then, their stadium is 30,000 and they never fill it. So
they're usually good at basketball. They're usually good at football. As far as I'm looking at sports programs, but anyway. Bob Bowlesby definitely said recently, why did you pick the ones that you picked? He said bigger is better. So that's one of the reasons why SMU did not get in there because of that. So, because they're right in Texas too. Texas, they could put some more Texas into the Big 12 as well again.
Yeah, but we don't want that. I think they're a little afraid of being Texas-centric. The other part of it is they're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is where TCU is.
It's true.
And I don't think they would want to put two schools together in the same city.
It's true. True. Possibly. Yeah. I think they're also, aren't they the headquarters for the Big 12 in Dallas, I believe? Used to be in Kansas City, but it's in Dallas now. So the Big 12 tournament, though, the basketball tournament, is usually in Kansas City, which is pretty cool. So if you have a chance, when we get in there, if we, have a chance in basketball to do the tournament and all that stuff and to do well in it, definitely take a trip to Kansas City. That area where the arena is awesome. So one other big piece of news today, and I'm actually glad that we're recording tonight on Monday night as opposed to our normal Sunday, because UCF got some great news today about the Henderson twins. Long talked about, again, local products from Seminole High School. Helped the team be undefeated in 2020. They are twins. We have a lot of success with twins, or have had in the past. You remember we had some twin linemen. We had some twins in the defensive backfield that I'm sure you all remember. So we're looking forward to these two. They're actually very highly rated. It's Ja'Cory and Dakari.
Gosh, I can't remember.
Dakari and Ja'Cory.
There you go. Dakari and Ja'Cory Henderson. They're both 6 feet tall. One's 155. The other one's 160. So they got some room to grow. But they're very, very talented athletes, highly rated in the state of Florida. They're also highly rated nationally. And this was a big get for us. It takes us to number 35 in the country right now for rivals with only 15 recruits. By comparison, Cincinnati's number 28, but they have 5 more recruits, and it's literally 4 points between the two. So that tells you the quality. And 247 has us at ranked at number 37. So we're talking about, guys, with these 3 recruits, we're talking about a top 40 class for us, and the highest we've ever had. Now, obviously, we're not finished yet, but the highest we've ever had was number 39, and that was the 2011 class under George O'Leary. So this is a huge deal for UCF football. We were, waiting on this. There'd been a lot of conversation. There was rumors about Miami and Florida, and we managed to wrap them up. Both of them are cornerbacks, so that's their position. And which is interesting that you have twins that are exactly the same height. Wouldn't
that be interesting to have a Henderson and a Henderson on both sides of the field, and for them to be twins and to play a lot alike each other? Because, twins do a lot of things genetically the same. Their bodies are genetically the same because they're twins. Right. So you could have literally a mirror of the other corner on the other side of the field at the same time, which could be very interesting.
Talking about state rankings, they are ranked number 67 and number 69 in the state. They are the number 47 and number 48 position players, or at their position. And this actually marks the 7th, with the addition of these two, top 100 ESPN top 100 recruits on our list, and the 11th Florida recruit.
Yeah, and they complete the trifecta of Sanford players with Cameron Moore. Right. It was rumored for a long time that whole deal was a package deal between all of them, and Cameron Moore committed, quite earlier. He committed in August, and then it took these guys until October to commit. But it's been a heck of a week for recruiting for UCF. These guys are 3 stars, but they're 1 point away from being a 4-star. There's a lot of guys that we have. McDonald's the same way. Quan Lee is the same way. Got a lot of guys that are 5.7s. 5.8 is 4-star. So these guys are really, really on the cusp. We don't have anybody that's in this class so far that is lower than a 5.5. So everybody is 3 stars and 4 stars. Nakai Martinez, the defensive back from Apopka, is the one 4-star so far. He's a 5.8. So
yeah, and he's going to be exciting to watch as well. So folks, enjoy it. The only challenge we're going to have this year is when you're comparing these classes, it's not just about the number or the final ranking. It's also about the quality of the average recruit. I don't think we'll have a full class, so that means we probably won't stay where we are the entire time because they don't count transfers into the recruiting rankings, and I expect us to take some on, especially at offensive line. But the average star rating ranks very, very high.
I think we're going to get really
Cincinnati.
I think we're going to get a couple more really big recruits as well, though. We're not anywhere near to being done. So this is our chance this year to land a real 5-star, possibly, because this class will be in the Big 12. These guys will be playing, their possible junior and senior year in the Big 12 for sure. So. And right now, 35 puts us between Florida and Rutgers. Florida is number 34. Rutgers is number 36. Below us, Arizona, Auburn. Let's see, Illinois, who's been fairly good. TCU, USC, Iowa, North Carolina State, UCLA, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin. Miami's way down there at 58. They're not recruiting worth a dang. Brigham Young, 61.
Well, Miami's a mess. They've got a bunch of decommitments.
Right. I wish I could separate this by... Oh, can I? Yes, I can. Look at that. The Big 12 right now, minus Texas and Oklahoma. West Virginia, this is the way it goes right now. West Virginia, Iowa State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, TCU, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Kansas. So let's find Iowa State. Where are they at in the whole thing of things? Iowa State, where are they? Iowa State's kind of the middle of the pack of the Big 12. And where are they in the whole thing here? It does, because it messes the whole thing up when you switch to just the conferences. Iowa State's number 24. So Baylor is 28. OSU, Oklahoma State is 32. So Oklahoma State's just right above us. And then there's TCU a ways down. So Coastal Carolina, man, they're up in the 50s, which is interesting for them. They've had a really good year. Yeah, there's some that are way down low. Temple is number 99 right now in the American.
That's not good.
Nope, not good at all for them. All right, well, that's interesting, though, for sure, to kind of see where we stand, with the Big 12 teams. We're right up there. I mean, to be neck and neck with Florida, I think that's pretty exciting, to be honest with you. There are points points kind of total these things up and make your ranking. They're at 12. Florida is at 1243. We're at 1227.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, there's a lot of good teams though that are below us as well with rankings. So far, but to have a class in the top 40 would be incredible, and I think that it's more than possible to stay there personally. So we shall see. What else do we want to talk about here real quick? Anything else that's on your list?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Okay.
Just guys to look out for next year, Hodges and Brown. I'm really excited about both of those on defense, and I expect them to do really, really well.
Yeah, and in this class, there's a lot of defensive backs and defensive players, so help is on the way for sure. There. All right, let's hear from Jeff Allen, who recently had his 100th show that you were on, Roger.
Yes,
let's hear what happened in the American around the rest of it.
Checking out the rest of the scores around the American, number 2 Cincinnati scored a hard-fought 27-20 win over Navy. Bearcats now remain undefeated at 7-0, 3-0 in conference. Navy falls to 1-6, 1-4 in conference play. Houston maintains their half-game lead in the conference. They 31-24 overtime win at East Carolina. The Cougs are now 4-0 in conference, 6-1 overall. ECU drops to 1-2 in conference play, 3-4 their overall mark. SMU remains undefeated as they roll to a 55-26 over Tulane on Thursday night. The Mustangs 7-0. They've won all 3 of their conference games and moved up to number 16 in this week's poll. Tulane now 1-6, having lost all 3 of their conference tilts. And South Florida scores their first conference win as they romp over Temple 34-14, setting a school record 421 rushing yards in the process. The Bulls now 1-2 in the AAC, 2-5 overall. Temple drops to 3-4, 1-2 in conference. I'm Jeff Allen. We'll recap those games and get you set for next week's contest, including our game of the week as SMU battles Houston. That's all on this week's AAC report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, there it is, the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. By the way, if you have not tried the chicken wings at Tijuana Flats, I know it sounds a little weird, but they do have chicken wings, and they are good. I had some last week, and they're awesome. And that whole sauce bars, they're available to add to your chicken wings as well at Tijuana Flats. So get in there and try those for a limited time only. So this has turned into kind of our score prediction thing that we do every week. Roger, I'm going to let you go first. What do you think is going to happen between Temple and UCF, and why?
Okay. So for my Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, I'm going to say that UCF wins this game 32-14. I like our chances. I like our defense, number one. I think we will control the game with our running game. That's why I'm not pushing the score any higher. The fact that Temple leaves so many yards on the ground, I think Gus will take advantage of that. And I think that our with them only scoring 22 points a game, and our defense finally keying up, their offensive line is not that great, so I expect our defensive line to dominate. When you dominate and you get pressure, you get turnovers. And when you get turnovers, you get extra possessions. And with the running game that we have, I say this week we hit that 30-point number again, and we win 32-14.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go not so conservative, which usually I do anyway. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I'm going to go 41-7. And the reason I'm going 41-7 is I think our defense has turned a page. I think there's players that have turned a page. I think Big Cat has turned a page. And I think that he's going to have a lot of success, and maybe a couple other guys. I think we're going to have turnovers like Roger said, but I think we're going to score points off of those turnovers a little bit more than we did last time. Last game. We had those turnovers but didn't score the points off of them. So I'm going to go 41-7. Our defense puts on a show in Philly. That is it. I think the defense is like I said, turned a page, and I think that it's coming. So, all right, we're going to be right back with news and notes.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this.
We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys?
My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong, spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Yeah. Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, UCF women's soccer beat ECU 2-0. They're now 7-1 in conference and 7-5-1 overall. They're currently ranked 41st.
UCF volleyball is currently 15-6 and are 8-1 in conference after defeating SMU 3-0. Congratulations, ladies! They are currently ranked 28th.
That's awesome. UCF men's soccer is 8-4 and 6-1 in conference play after defeating Temple 3-0. They're currently ranked 38th.
And congratulations to Matt Lee for earning a spot on the Remington watch list.
All right, a huge thank you to the Moody family for donating $60,000 to the athletic department. They are now officially Big 12 level shareholders. So there's another level now, Big 12 level. I guess you have to get over 50,000. I don't know. Is that the deal with that?
Yeah, it's 50,000. Yeah, it was a rebrand of the other, whatever the previous name was. But yes, you are now Big 12 level shareholders. So thank you. And thank goodness we're in the Big 12 and not the AAC.
Absolutely. People are going to have to step it up, I guess, in that shareholder thing. Got to be better than the Joneses, so better than the Moody's, I guess, now. All righty, this has been Knightline 267. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold, charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. BSETO, our light. Tonight our nights will shine.